Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the council meeting for Wednesday, February the 8th. Seems like we were here not too very long ago, probably because we were at our budget committee the whole meeting. It's nice to see everybody again, though. So the first order of business, as always, is a call to order and our national anthem. So please rise. Thank you, everybody. And our next item on the agenda is a public forum, but I don't believe we have anybody signed up for that. So we'll go over that one. The next item is council announcements. Anybody for council announcements? Okay, Deputy Mayor Chan.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to thank majority of my colleagues and others joining me at the New Year levy about a couple of weeks ago. Hundreds of people were there, all had a good time. And I think we're all ready to roll in the celebration 150th anniversary of this great city, Richmond Hill. On a more solemn note, I'd like to also say really prayers myself and I trust for all our community. I'm prayers for those who perish, over 11,000 at this point in time, in the devastating earthquake in Turkey and Syria. And I would like to call members of the community, if they could, do either donation to Red Cross and other things that can help. This is something that I think is truly a natural disaster. And as a committee of caring and with compassion, I think this is also calling upon our committee members to help in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Okay, I've got a fair number of them, I'm sorry, but I would like to echo the comments made about the devastating and tragic situation in Turkey and Syria, and our thoughts and hearts certainly go out to the people in that part of the world. And you know, I guess it's a terrible situation, and it's made in some, at least in Syria, that the situation is made worse by the civil unrest that's happening there. We do have Turkish and Syrian people that are living in our community, and I'm sure this is very difficult for them, especially at this time. So our thoughts go out to them. I would also just like to acknowledge and give a shout out that February is Black History Month. That's always a really interesting slate of events that happens during this time. I was really honored to be able to be attending the Aurora Black Community Association Gala. And one of the reasons I wanted to go there specifically was to hear from the Honorable Jean Augustine, who I've heard speak in the past. She's fantastic. She was the first Black Canadian MP, and she was the one that initiated actually the Black History Month. And so it was great to hear from her, always great insights. We have a number of other events going on, including one from the York Regional Police this Saturday, and events that are going on at the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts and the Richmond Hill Public Library for those that would like to be a part of that. You know, one of the themes that we heard again and again is, you know, Black history is Canadian history, and it really is interesting and thought-provoking to attend those events. I'd also like to acknowledge that February 18th is one of the most auspicious times in Hinduism. It is for those that are observing that through fasts and worship and honoring the god Shiva. And Lent begins on February 27th and lasts until April the 8th. One of the things I always remember about Lent is the ability to have pancakes and maple syrup for dinner. And that was always a good thing. On that note, I will be hosting a maple syrup festival in Richmond Hill on the April the 1st. So if anybody wants to have maple syrup, that's a good place to get it, although it won't be for dinner, but it'll still be good. I do also want to say that Pink Shirt Day happens on February the 22nd. And I know us on council support the initiatives to stand against bullying. And I think that that's a very important message to be sending out, and greater awareness needs to happen about the impacts of bullying throughout our society. So I would encourage everybody to go out and buy a pink shirt if you don't already have one, and make sure you wear pink on the 22nd. And last but not least, I do really want to give a shout out to all of the volunteers that for the last 54 years have made the Richmond Hill Winter Carnival a success. Yeah. We have a hometown crowd here. The Winter Carnival has always been one of my favorite events, and it started out as a community event, for the community, by the community, when a bunch of people in that area decided they'd had enough of staying inside in winter and brought their barbecues out onto the mill pond and had a party, and it's been going ever since. Thank you so much to all of the volunteers, Jean, Michael, Chuck, and Doug Elliott in particular, who are the co-chairs of that event. Saturday was really cold. There were some brave souls that did show up on Saturday, but Sunday got a lot warmer and they came out in droves. So it was great to see that as a big success. So sorry for the length of that, but there's a lot going on in Richmond Hill. So the next item on the agenda is the introduction of emergency or time-sensitive matters. Seeing none, Mr. Chair. Adoption of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Chan, Seconder Karen Silovitz, all those in favor. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Seeing none, Mr. Chair. We'll move on to adoption of previous council minutes. We have special council meeting on January 17th, council public meeting on January 18th, council meeting on January 25th, and a special council meeting on January 30th. We could move all of those as one batch. We had Councillor Silovitz, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so we need to now look at items requiring separate discussion. We do have a 13.1, we have a delegation, and 13.2, we have a delegation. 14.1 is a member motion, and we have a delegation. The rest, though, could be passed on consent, but we're asking if anybody wants to discuss any of those items. Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull 13.8, the proclamation for National 211 Day for February 11th, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councillor Liu.
13.6, please.
Sorry, what was that?
13.6.
0.6. Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Sold. Okay, so can I get An adoption, motion for the adoption of the remainder of the agenda items. Councillor Davidson, Councillor Silovitz, all those in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Okay, public hearings we have done. Presentations we have none. So we'll move right to delegations. And just a reminder, we will take all of the delegations at once, and then we will deal with the items that they correspond to later. That was a change we made recently to our procedural bylaw. So the first person to delegate is somebody that is no stranger to Richmond Hill, a hometown person, former Premier Kathleen Wynne. Welcome, Miss Wynne. Welcome home.
Very much. I believe, and this is a frightening thing to say, but I believe I was at the first Winter Carnival.
Really?
55 years ago. I would have been 14. Yeah.
That's good. But the question is, do you have the pin?
Well, I had recently, my high school graduation, I graduated from Richmond Hill High School in 1971, and we've had a reunion. We had a reunion last year on Zoom, and then we had a reunion this past fall in person. And we were talking about the Winter Carnival, and I do believe there are some people in that crew who have those pins, who have those original pins. And we were trying to remember who was the snow queen and who were the princesses. And
Very
anyway,
nice.
So thank you very much. Thank you for the time today. I think you all have received a document that
Actually, Kathleen, sorry, could you go to the podium?
I didn't know where I was supposed to.
No, that's
be,
okay.
so-
Actually, that mic works, but the podium is that's
Oh, this is better. Yes.
my apologies. I should have mentioned that to you.
No, that's okay. I was trying to move it
No,
forward.
that's okay.
I think you've all got a written document that I submitted, so I won't go over it chapter and verse. I'm very happy to be at Richmond Hill Council on behalf of a group of women who are concerned about behaviors that undermine our civil society and therefore undermine our faith in our democratically elected officials and our institutions. And I came to Richmond Hill. There's this group of women of Ontario who say no, and I offered to come to Richmond Hill to delegate because this is where my activism began. It was my home. This is where I was formed. I learned about the power dynamics between men and women in the public realm, people with privilege, those who don't have privilege, and the energy it takes to push against establishment norms. And I learned that here in Richmond Hill. People like my own mom, Pat Wynne, and Lois Hansey were my teachers in that. And I remember them delegating to Social Planning Council, and then Lois, of course, went on to be very involved. But I remember that relationship between citizens and elected officials. So half a century after I started challenging the status quo and going to the Winter Carnival, I'm back here to say that there is still more to do. There's always more to do. And this issue, which is embodied in Mayor West's motion at 14.1, and it's seconded by Councillor Davidson. So I'm here to ask you to support this motion. It is related to and amplifies Bill 5, which is a private member's bill that was put forward by my former colleague Stephen Blais, who is the MPP for Orléans. And the bill has 3 components, and this is included in your document, but I'll just go over these. First of all, if Bill 5 were to pass, it would require councillors to comply with the workplace violence and harassment policies of the municipality that they represent. Seems pretty straightforward to me. The imperatives are there, and it asks that that elected officials comply with those. It would permit municipalities to direct the integrity commissioner to apply to the court to vacate a member's seat for failing to comply with the municipality's workplace violence and harassment policy. So it puts some teeth into that process, and it would restrict councillors whose seat has been vacated from seeking immediate subsequent re-election. This bill arises out of behaviors that have taken place in many municipalities around the province, particularly Ottawa. And my colleague MPP Blais was very concerned about some behaviors there. In some ways, it pains me that we even have to have this conversation in 2023. I hope that you will be able to see that this is a this is, if not a huge step, it is at least a logical and rational step to shine a light on behaviors that should not take place, and just to simply require that people follow the rules. Everyone has the right to a safe workplace. And I believe that, in fact, elected officials, and having been one myself for more than 2 decades, I believe that we need to be held to an even higher standard, because we are potentially role models for people in the community and young people. So that's really all I wanted to say. I sincerely hope that you'll support Mayor West's motion, and I so appreciate your time and attention. Thank you for allowing me to delegate. I don't know if you do questions or if there's any.
No.
Okay.
No, but thank you so much
Okay.
for
Thank
for
you.
that. It would seem that you've probably done this type of thing before, which is great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Okay, the next delegate that we have is Daniel Freyheit. I hope I'm saying that correctly, regarding the 2023 draft capital budget and 9-year forecast. And there's Daniel on screen. So Daniel, you've got 5 minutes to address council.
Great, thank you. Yes, my name is Daniel Freyheit. I do a lot of advocacy work on Twitter. My main goal is to promote an equitable, inclusive workforce in a new post-pandemic environment. So in that capacity, I write a lot about the best practices as an inclusive and equitable workforces in regards to vaccine mandates. Since this is a capital budget meeting, or I'm speaking to the capital budget item, I'm going to stick to that, in particular the budget and forecast and the city's investment priorities. According to the capital budget report, and the strategic vision of Richmond Hill is to have a place where people can come together to build our community. Council's strategic priorities for 2022 were included fiscal responsibility, balancing green and growth, and a strong sense of belonging. I ask you respectfully how this vision can be achieved when Richmond Hill continues to have vaccine requirements for new employees, effectively excluding hundreds or thousands of qualified, eager, and very hungry residents. You may not know about these folks because you don't hear from them. They're despondent. They reach out to me on Twitter. They don't know how to speak to these committees. In fact, I sometimes don't even know how to speak to you guys. They've almost given up. And you don't see them because of the privileged environment in which you and I work. These folks their lives have been turned upside down. Some people may have gotten 1 dose and a bad reaction, and they may not qualify for an exemption, or their doctors are fearful of giving them exemptions. Some may just want to wait until all the data is in. I can tell you there are hundreds of thousands of Ontarians and residents of Richmond, of residents of Richmond Hill that can't get jobs because of their vaccination status. And some want to apply to the city of Richmond Hill, but the job postings are quite clear that it's no jab, no job. The capital budget allocates over $74 million to incredible jobs and work projects, but only those who are prepared to take the vaccine. I appreciate the city doesn't want to have employees, the city doesn't want to have employees sick or, keep people out of hospitals, stay in the workforce, not spread the virus to others. I get that. But as you probably know, this isn't quite working. Dr. Moore said it in February of 22. Dr. Tam a month later. The vaccine is not designed to stop workplace transmission. So if that's your goal, I would encourage this committee to invest in comprehensive air filtration systems, ventilation systems, and let employees stay at home if they're sick and pay them, and put that in the capital budget. But what I'm here to say is that vaccines as a condition of employment are creating huge social problems that you may not see or hear, but I do, and it pains me. And so today, this committee, and it only takes one of you, or maybe a second if your bylaw is required, you can resolve to truly create a strong sense of belonging in this community, and you can resolve to advise. I think to advise, the city council can revoke its vaccine requirements for new hires as part of the capital budget, and I would urge you all to do so. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I really enjoyed listening to the previous delegate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll deal with this item in a minute, but I will mention that the vaccine mandates are going to be lifted in Richmond Hill on March the 1st. So it's a couple more weeks. That's going to be happening.
Well, you could have saved me 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
Great to hear.
Well, you made the trouble to show up, so I didn't want to disappoint you, but thank you so much. Okay, so the next delegate is Lincoln Lowe from Malone Given Parsons regarding the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment applications for 0 John Birchall Road. Lincoln, welcome live and in person.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Lincoln Lowe with Malone Given Parsons. I am the planner representing Leslie Elgin Developments, Inc. for their application at John Birchall Road. Before I begin, I do want to say it is nice to be in person again. This is, I believe, perhaps my first public delegation in any council since the beginning of COVID. And it's nice to be here and it's nice to see new faces on council. I don't know how I picked the one where I'm behind Premier Wynn, but it's,
You got lucky.
Yeah, I'm a lucky guy. I am a lucky guy. And I'm simply here to let council know that I do support staff's recommendation to allow for, hopefully staff to allow for continued discussions with myself and the applicant with an eye towards a resolution to the outstanding appeals. We've actually had a few productive meetings with city staff on how the proposal and application could be refined and revised to address some of the concerns in that report. We were just in the midst of presenting a few options to city staff, but we were advised that they should seek council direction to permit them to have these conversations before we get any further, which I believe is why I'm in front of council this morning. That is all to say that I do believe that with revisions, I don't think that the applicant and staff are perhaps as far apart as that report may seem. And I do appreciate the ability to continue to work with staff, hopefully towards a resolution. And I should note that we've also had a few productive meetings with the region as well to discuss this application, as well as to discuss their update to the transportation master plan process. We did discuss, Leslie Elgin as a whole and how, it's our opinion that intersection does have a cluster of uses and potential redevelopment sites that could warrant in the future increased transit service. And York Region Transit was actually very helpful, and they noted that they had the ability and the capacity to service this area, the Leslie Elgin area, with increased bus transit immediately should that service be warranted. And to that end, the region have advised that they believe this application is a local matter and they will not be seeking party status to the appeal. So I do continue to think that there is an opportunity on these lands for a different housing type that exists in that area that I think could be a real benefit to the community, both for first-time home buyers and maybe elderly families that want to downsize. And I would appreciate the opportunity through council to allow staff to have continued discussions with myself and the applicant. And those are my submissions. Thank you again. And again, it is nice to not be told that I'm on mute or anything like that. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lincoln. And your third dimension looks really nice today. So good job. All right. So the next delegate is Sean Zhao from regarding the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 0 John Birchall Road. Sean, are you there virtually? Oh, there we are.
Yes.
Hi,
My name is Sean. Hi. How are you, Councilor?
You've got 5 minutes to address council. Welcome virtually.
Thank you. It's my first River Rivers. Yeah, but I'm gonna speak fast. Okay. So this project is a high-risk and high-density resident development will cause, in my opinion, will cause heavy traffic, in which will cause a great threat for the community, especially the children and school bus service, because the majority of the cars passing the stop sign in front of my house never stop. They just pass it with acceleration and increasing speed, and all captured by my security camera and with solid evidence. I was informed by the police officer last year, April. He just pulled over like 5 cars in the morning and asked my help to obtain the painting line besides the stop sign in order to carry his enforcement on an unassumed road. I contacted the builder last year, April, and they refused to paint the line because of the construction progress. So until now, I'm still waiting for the action to paint the line besides the stop sign. So in my opinion, new project will make this situation even worse because builders are not carrying the responsibility for ensuring the community safety. And the heavy traffic will make Richland community traffic extremely dangerous. And the situation will get getting very worse. And the second is the community safety issue. Richland community is facing great threat from car theft, breaking, and robbery, especially last year, November, December. Many incidents happened and still remain unsolved. So will this project condo generate good impact for the community or make it even worse? So I moved into this community 3 years ago, and I watched this community's security issue getting worse and worse, and especially increased last year. So as a resident in this community, I feel due to the current road condition and the traffic condition, is this project really benefited for the whole community or just because of the real estate market and they want to make more profit? That's it. So based on like a resident's opinion, we don't think it's a good project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
The next delegate is Suang Tan. So welcome, and you've got 5 minutes, Suang, to address council. I think you're on mute, and we don't see you at the moment. No, you're back on mute. Suang, you're on mute, so you can unmute yourself and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Oh,
So
you're there twice.
I'm a resident in the neighborhood, and I'm really concerned as what the previous person has alluded about the traffic within the intersection. But knowing that the intersection is a very heavy intersection and building a high density community in front of a high school, in front of the public library, this is an area that is has already a high level of traffic. So to increase it with the population that the developer plans to have is just not a viable solution. Plus, there's only one road. Increasing the bus service is not, might elevate it, but it's not the solution to all, right? Unless York Region is planning to expand the Leslie, just like Highway 7, to put in a Viva bus route, that might elevate some of the traffic. But increasing bus frequency is not the solution. They have to put forward a proposal for the infrastructure to support the high density population along Leslie and Elder Mills, right? That is something that developer has to respond to the proposal to us to make it viable for us to as something that we can live with, right? Because living in a neighborhood with a high traffic, it's not something that I am willing to give up. I go out and use that intersection very often, almost every day, just to get out of that neighborhood to do some work, like or shopping or whatever. And getting stuck in the traffic is not pleasant with the increased volume of, the density of the population in that neighborhood, right? It's just not that, but also the high structure will, based on the shadow study, will cause some shadows in the neighborhood, which means we get less of a sunlight. And sunlight is important to human, right? Having vitamin D and things like that, but having a shadow in your neighborhood and going out to enjoy the sun is prohibited if you have the high-rise building, right? That's obstructing the sunlight into your neighborhood. So that's not healthy from that perspective, right? So with all, unless the developer is able to present more benefits to us, we don't think this is a good proposal to move forward with. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next person is Saeed Bokhari. Oh, he's not available. Okay. The next one then is Yidi Huang.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? You've got 5 minutes to address council.
Yes. I'm living in the Borden Street. Then I know it is going to building two tower around 6. We'll be getting 600, more than 600 unit family in there. But I think this one is very huge among our community, because in the 19th Street and the Leslie, they have 3 different builders. They also sold down the house already, and they will be bring the huge family in there already. So for the traffic, I think it's very big problem for the usually I going out to work at 8:30. So I need to wait for the traffic light, at least 2 traffic light, then I can turn the left to go to Leslie Street, because right now is already have a traffic in there. So if the house 19th Street and Leslie Street, the house all the moving in, and they will be make it the huge different amount of community. So also in my community right now, the Richmond, they are still keeping the building, the house. Also, the house is sold out, and all the new neighborhood will move in. So a lot of people moving to in this intersection in our community. So that will be a huge difference for the even for the park, for the school, and for the library. I think that cannot afford that much. And the project in the front, it will be going to 27 story and 31 story. That is too much for that. Yeah, always my opinion. I'm finished.
Okay, well, thank you so much for sharing that with us and taking the time out of your day to delegate to council. The last delegate that we have is Meng Zhang, and this is on the same application at 0 John Birchall Road. So Meng, if you want to unmute yourself, you've got 5 minutes to address council.
Oh, hi, everyone. So I just want to add on some of my opinions. So when I purchased my property in Richland, which is located at Egg Mills and Leslie and Egg Mills, right? So the plan says the city designed this area as low density residential area. Okay, this is how we bought this property. And then now the builder want to build like a 2 tower, like in front of the community, where there's only one road to go into this community. I really don't think why we got this far. We have to, to be here. I mean, this should be objected at the beginning, because this is not even possible, right? Because there's 2 tower. If the 2 tower with like so many residents going to be moved in that little area, I mean, the traffic will be packed. I think there's already 2 of our neighbors expressed their opinions in the morning, so they couldn't get out in the morning, and then they need to go out to work or go send their kids to school. And then there is a high school also at this intersection. There's also like a park there. So I mean, it makes impossible to have 2 condos to be built there. And then I think that Tan also mentioned there along the Leslie to 19th road, right? There are already several builder projects which all sold out. They are building townhouses there. So after all the residents move in, I think this community is fully packed. There's no room for any condos in this area. So, and also I think Sean also mentioned about the security issues. This year we experienced lots of break-ins in our neighborhood, and I mean, this is going to be causing more problem if we have more like, those high density condos to be built at this intersection. So I highly object any proposal from the builder. Thank you.
Okay, again, thank you so much for your delegation and taking the time to let us know your thoughts on this. At this point, we've exhausted our delegation list, so I would bring this back to council in our agenda. So we have 3 items that we've separated for discussion, or that have been separated. 4, right? Okay, 5, whatever, 4 or 5. The draft capital budget is the first one. That's 13.1. So I'd be looking for somebody to get us started on that and move the staff recommendation, I suppose, in the staff report. Councillor Silovitz. Do I need a seconder here? Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Thank you. Sorry about that. I actually should have gone to you first as the budget chair. Joe, my apologies. Okay, is there any discussion on this? Okay, so that being said, all those in favor of the motion before us? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, so the next item then was pulled by Councillor Liu, 13.6 traffic regulation changes, and I'll bring that over to you, Councillor. Okay, you're being very sticky today, but okay. All right, 13.2 is before 13.6. You're right. So 13.2 is 0 John Burchell Road, and I will bring that to the local councillor, Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm good either way. I have to speak on both items. Anyways, 13.2, I would like to thank staff for the report, and also thank you, the applicant representative. Nice to see you, Lincoln, and also all the residents who came out today. This has been going on for 2 years. And as Mr. Zhang asked why we are here, and I'd just like to remind or reiterate to the residents that, the city and council doesn't support the proposal, and the applicant decided to appeal it to the OLT. So now it's out of council's hands, and we need to direct staff to hire external consultants to represent the city and fight this application at the OLT. So that's why we are here. So this is more a procedural matter, and I'm very happy to move the staff recommendation that we do not support. This is too high, too dense, and also traffic safety. I don't want to repeat all the points that brought up by my residents. And also, most importantly, staff continue discussions towards a potential resolution on the outstanding appeals. And hopefully we can, get some agreement in what is going to be built there, but mindful that my resident is strongly opposed the 31 and 27 stories, that I don't think it belongs there. So yep, I'm happy to move the staff recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We have a seconder, Councillor Chan. You had your hand up?
Yes, I'm happy to second Councillor Liu's motion for the following reason. I think that has been highlighted by the delegates. Thank you all, and Mr. Lowe as well. And it's no doubt, it's not the first time council has heard from our residents. There was extract also included in our staff report. Just a few: height, density, traffic, shadow, and all these other concerns. And more importantly, for that particular place, the development industry are welcome to build buildings up to 10 stories, but 31 stories, that's 3 times of what it is in terms of the FSI, from 2 to 5.9, another 3 times more. I do hear Mr. Lowe, perhaps on behalf of applicants, saying to continue discussion. So perhaps the second pre-conference, call with the OLT, Ontario Land Tribunal, would not happen until next Monday. There was a great opportunity that perhaps applicant can think about with truly working together in constructive dialogue with our staff and the local council and residents to address and resolve the issue. The option is obviously for the applicant to consider without continuing with the particular case, appeal case, before council even have a chance to make a decision based on the professional comments from our staff. And I also like to highlight our TRCA also have concern because it's close to a lot of natural features. It's good to hear the York region may not be seeking party status, but as you can hear, all we can hear from residents and echo again by the local councillor that residents in the area are certainly not welcoming this for a number of reasons, not just not in my own backyard. That's why I cite those figures: 3 times more height, 3 times more density. And I have to say, during probably a few months ago, I did frequent the area, and I did hear from residents at the time about their concern. So I hope that at the end, the message is loud and clear that council, I hope my colleagues would also support that to oppose this particular application and the Ontario Land Tribunal. And that hope might give the message to the applicant to think about the next call for action. And I'm sure our staff would be welcoming opportunity to make some positive changes that within the rules and all the official plan, and try to work for a positive resolution. So I'm in support of this motion, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome. Is there anybody else that would like to comment? Okay. I'd just like to make a couple of comments just to wrap. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm looking not at the screen. Go ahead, Regional Local Councillor DePaulo. You're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo some of the comments that have been made by the mover and seconder, and I do want to say that I'm hopeful that our staff can reach some compromise with this applicant in their negotiations. I'm very hopeful that this motion directs our staff to continue to negotiate. I was perplexed why this was ever designated as a high density block in the North Leslie secondary plan, but it is, and being that it is, this applicant is going to have an opportunity at the Ontario Land Tribunal to, in this provincial policy environment, to possibly be successful with a plan that goes way above and beyond what is expected or contemplated for the area. So there were 2 former, I think former members of council, I think, led this applicant to believe that these heights proposed are palatable, and I think they've recognized that a compromise would be beneficial. But the only way that the residents' concerns can be addressed with their transportation concerns, the TRCA concerns, and the shadowing and these other issues is if our staff negotiates with this applicant for consideration of an amended version. I think that's their intention, to come in with an amended version, and I'd love to see that come back to council for us to consider. There will be a high density project on this site, and we'll have a much better opportunity to hash out here what's ultimately there than rolling the dice with the Ontario Land Tribunal at this time. So those are my thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I support the motion.
Thank you very much, Regional Local Councillor. Is there any other comments then? Okay, seeing none. I will echo the comments that have been made thus far. And I actually do appreciate that we're in a potential position here to be making some changes and seeing this come down much closer to our official plan as we have it, or will have our official plan in the near future when we approve the new official plan. I do maybe want to play a little bit of devil's advocate, though, in saying that there are, as Councillor DiPaolo had alluded to, a very significantly different policy regime from the provincial government that will, we will need to take into consideration. But I think, there's the staff report that is before us outlining the concerns that we have with this project it's very extensive. It's one of the longer staff reports that I've seen in quite some time. It's very analytical. It talks specifically about the issues that need to be addressed, that maybe, need to be defended should this go all the way to the OLT. I think ultimately, I personally would like to see a smaller version of this project that's appropriate for the area, and one that supplies some of the community benefits that we need and we have spoken about on this council many times before, one of which importantly is a greater range of housing that's more affordable to more people. There is the potential in a situation like this to create that, but at the same time, it needs to fit in with the neighborhood and all of the concerns that the neighbors are having with, especially with traffic. So I'm hopeful with the passing of this motion that the OLT process will continue, but with negotiations, it sounds like the applicant is willing to come to the table. And I think I appreciate the fact that it isn't a good idea for us to necessarily be wanting to not negotiate. I think it is in our best interest to find a place where we can be satisfied with this and that it works for us as a community. So seeing no others, a recorded vote is being called. So Mr. Clerk, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you. Through the mayor, voting on the motion moved by Councillor Liu, seconded by Regional Local Councillor Chan. Councillor Liu.
Yes. Please.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Tree.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Shu.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor West.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Silovitz.
Yes.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor DiPaolo.
Yes.
Thank you. And that motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks again to all the delegates that have come out. Now, the next one is 13.6, traffic regulation changes, and that was pulled by Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. And I'll be very quick. I would like to thank staff for the report. And I think these changes is going to benefit the community. My only question is through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff, is how soon that we can install the U-turn signs. Because in the school area in my ward is chaotic every morning. So many parents are asking for those U-turn signs. Now is finally here, and I just wanted to know how soon we can, put that in action.
Good point. Over to you, Commissioner.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly upon the adoption of this direction and report by council, staff will initiate the implementation of the recommendations immediately.
Mr. Mayor, is there approximate timeline that I can get back to my residents through you, Mr. Mayor?
There is a procurement process that we need to go through at this point in time, so I can report to you, Mr. Councillor Liu, offline as to the timelines that we anticipate.
All right, thank you very much. And I'm more than happy to move the staff recommendations, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I need a seconder, Councillor Silovitz. Is there any other comments? Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Liu for moving this. I fully support it, and I just wanted to thank staff for all the work that they've done here. It's extensive and it's taken quite a while, and it is greatly appreciated, I'm sure, by anybody who lives on these impacted streets. There are a number of Ward 5 streets that are impacted. Specifically, there's one for the speed limit change, and there are many recommended for parking regulation changes. So thank you to all. I appreciate all the work that was done here, as do my residents.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Tree.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Chair. Through you, Ms. Chair, to our planning department. So thank you so much. I appreciate all the efforts you have done in the past few years to detect traffic flows and detect traffic situations. I see a few streets in my ward has been modified, reduced speed from 50 to 40, especially for the U-turns around the one of the specific street, namely the stop, which is Silver Pine Street. And hopefully those actions can be taken very as soon as possible. We're going to monitoring the status if they can getting better solutions or traffic around the school areas, the same as Councillor Liu mentioned. And also we have a few other streets near the school as well. I'm hoping in near futures we should have some more actions can be taken, put into the proposal. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Regional Councillor Chan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I was actually thinking that this is maybe a good time since movers mentioned about the time to implement. But my turn is to actually compliment staff how speedy, no pun intended, that they have reacted in terms of recommending, to us to change from, for example, page 3, Berwick Crescent and a number of other streets in the city to move from 50 to 40 kilometers per hour. Because I know as a fact, the number 1 on the list, Berwick Crescent, which is in Ward 6, I've been privileged to represent for 16 years, had a number of accidents at the bend. And residents have been hoping that something like this would be done soon. So this is good. And I'm sure my colleague in Ward 1, Sunset Beach Road and other places, those are much needed and soon. And I hope that York Regional Police would also be alerted that enforcement also would be perhaps necessary to make sure that those reduction in speed lead to results that everybody wants. And the no U-turn ones are good because a number of those streets mentioned about, I don't need to mention to people or in those streets, particularly the local council would know, Shaftesbury, Redstone Road, Farmstead, Crosby, Shirley, and all those are streets that really close to schools, and no U-turn will help in a sense, a traffic calming in that sense. So thank you very much, staff, and I wish move speedy and in this one and get the YRP to help to implement in terms of the enforcement. Thank you very much. I'm in support of the motion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank staff. I overwhelmingly hear about speeding through neighborhoods as for most residents, number 1, and we certainly don't want anyone to get hurt. I hope along with these new rules, we'll have the resources to enforce these, certainly the ones that bylaw can look at, but also I'm actually meeting with the police next week and I will bring it up and I hope we can work together to ensure it's great to have those signs and great to have those rules, but people have to abide by them. So I'm excited that we are tackling speeding and other vehicle issues seriously. And I hope this is the beginning of us really grappling with the issues that our residents are concerned about. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else on the first round? We have a request for a second round. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your indulgence, just have a quick question. Do we have a communication plan in place to inform the residents about these changes? Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Good question.
Mr. Mayor, that is a good question. We would certainly, if it's council's wish, we will do our best efforts to post information on the website as a public announcement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the reason I ask is, if it relies on the local council to communicate with their local resident, that's fine with me. But because we're going to do it anyways. So I'm just wondering, I just don't want, just the messages being redundant. So
through you, Mr. Mayor, if I might also suggest if individual members of council wish us to help in the communication strategy for their own ward or personal newsletters, please reach out to us and we'll coordinate with communications.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, if I may, that's actually a really good point. And I think, and I'm glad that we had this discussion because I think we should do both of those things. But I also think it's a really good point that was made that, a lot of this stuff is very local in nature and it's going to impact mostly the local residents living in that area. So if we can help as ward councillors and as elected representatives to get the word out to the communities that we represent specifically, I think that would be effective. So I appreciate the staff report and I appreciate that it's very positive in an incremental step towards increasing our safety in our communities, which I know we hear about all the time and it's an important issue. I also do want to just stress that, if you read the staff report carefully, you realize that there's a lot of analysis that's gone into this from our traffic engineering staff. These changes are not made as feel-good changes. They're made, to effectively try to increase the safety on our roads, and particularly around school zones. I mean, if anybody has dropped kids off during the morning, you realize that in many cases, the chaos that happens on the road in front of schools and the U-turns are it's a no-brainer that we should be prohibiting that. It's not safe to be doing U-turns at the best of times, but particularly when you're dropping a whole bunch of kids off at the same time. So thank you so much. I also would like to just point out that some of the changes that are in there are to help create more consistency with the rules on the ground and the bylaws that we have so that we can actually enforce it more effectively. And I believe that's correct. So thank you for that. And thank you, staff, for producing that staff report. So I will call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. The second last item on the agenda is 13.8, proclamation for the National 211 Day, which is February the 11th, 2023, and that was pulled by Councillor Silovitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Solomon Aladina for putting this forward. I know that you have a lot you wish to say about this, so I won't take up a lot of time here. This is a fantastic initiative. 211 is funded and supported by the United Way of Greater Toronto, and it covers a very large array of social services, such as health services, mental health supports, income support and financial assistance, food banks, meal programs and grocery delivery, housing help and emergency shelter, support services for seniors and a person with disabilities, just to mention a few. So I fully support this, and I urge all members of council to support this proclamation for 211. I think it's a very, very good thing that February 11th be named National 211 Day. Thank you.
Okay, I need a seconder for that. Councillor, Regional Local Councillor Chan, thank you. Did you have anything to say?
I just want to echo the mover's words that human services, in particular mental health, we just not too long ago, last week, we have this Let's Talk Day that for really having people know that you're not alone. So 211 we're offering all range of human services. In fact, in York Region, now I know because I've been appointed as a co-chair of the Human Services Planning Board. This is certainly a concerted effort to try to raise awareness and making it easier, and just 3 numbers to remember to call, and you are not alone. So I'm in full support of this motion in front of us. And thank you, Councillor Silovitz, for moving this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I actually, Councillor Silovitz and I were talking about this, and I appreciate you moving this, Councillor. Part of the reason that we have proclamations like this is to help raise awareness. And I have to be honest, I didn't know about this before this came to our attention. So you have created awareness because I now know about it, and I will certainly try to make sure that other people know about it. I did have the opportunity this morning to go onto the website and do some experimenting, and I think just to be clear, you can call or visit the website, which is there, 211central.ca. And in that website, there's it's a resource for a whole range of different services, including like one of the things I was interested in was domestic violence and abuse. And if you put in the right criteria in the search engine, it will point people that are maybe in need of services like that, food banks, mental health supports, and a number of other different things to the nearest or best resource that you might be interested in. And I know that, from my work with Yellow Brick House in the past, for example, in a crisis situation, the information is needed and it's needed right away. And I think this is a really good resource. And so I would ask that, counselors, if they can, to help get the word out. It comes in 150 languages that this service provides. It's confidential, it's free, and there are referrals to community and social supports, which I think is important in certain circumstances. So thank you very much for this organization to bring this forward, and I look forward to marking February the 11th, thank you, as 211 Day. So, okay, Councillor Tree.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Just through you, Mr. Chair, I just want to make comment. So this is really good news, benefits the residents. So please put into our regular city channels and notify all the residents. This is good news for all the residents. Thanks.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, we have a motion before us. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we have my member motion. So I'll pass this over to Deputy Mayor Chan. I'll pass the chair over so that can be introduced.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Item number 14.1, your motion.
Okay, thank you. So Mr. Clerk, if we can put that up on the screen. I don't really have a lot to add to this. I think our delegate, former Premier Wynne, said it very well. This was an initiative that I had heard about at the AMO conference in August, I guess, in Ottawa. And I was discussing this actually with former Mayor of Ottawa, Watson, who had talked a little bit about this. So I think I don't really, again, have a lot to say, but what I would say is that I think this is very reasonable. It's very important that elected officials like ourselves act as role models and make sure that we're abiding by all of the same rules and regulations and so on that, other businesses and organizations follow in the province of Ontario, and protecting the people who work with us from violence and harassment and so on is absolutely imperative. And I think as a society, we're becoming more and more and more aware of that over time, and the importance of that and the negative consequences that frankly have probably been going on to too large a degree in the past, as we have not been as aware of the impacts of workplace harassment and abuse. So this is a private member's bill. It does have to go through the provincial parliament. I mean, private members' bill are not always, certainly not always a slam dunk, but I think I would be comfortable seeing this bill pass. And, if at the very, very least, if it doesn't pass, it will, I hope, send a message that Richmond Hill is certainly behind this type of initiative in one form or another, and we would support those types of changes. So that's really the message I think that needs to be sent today. And I think as a council, we should stand united and make sure that message gets sent. So I will pass the floor back to you, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor West. Now I turn to the seconder, Councillor Davidson. You have something to add? Councillor Davidson.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I completely, wholeheartedly support what the mayor has said and what the Honourable Kathleen Wynne has said. I think there is no room for harassment. And in our role in particular, we deal with each other, we deal with residents, we deal with staff. And I view this job as part of a goodwill ambassador there's just no room for harassment. And it's a long wait for the next election if there's an issue. I think this is just an extension of the pledge we all signed at our inauguration that we would support a respectful work environment and work well together. And I have nothing else to say except I hope this passes, and let this be a message to residents, even if it doesn't, is that we stand united in a respectful environment where residents can interact with their city hall and their representatives in a respectful way. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the comment. So now, members of council and the public, the actual motion is shown in front of us. Now, I also have Councillor Civilis want to speak on it. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Chan. I just have a few words to say here, and they are specifically directed to our Honourable Premier Wen. Thank you, Premier Wen. You have no idea how much this means, certainly to myself and to so many members of this organization. I am still suffering with the after effects of major situational anxiety and depression. And something like this is so important, not only for our corporation, members of council, to feel that we work in a safe place, but also for our residents, as Councillor Davidson said, for our residents to know that Richmond Hill is a safe place to work. So I urge my colleagues to pass this unanimously. I will ask for a recorded vote, please, Mr. Clerk. And thank you to Mayor West and Councillor Davidson for bringing this forward. And again, Premier Wen, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other members of council to speak? If not, yes, I echo Councillor Civilis. Thank you very much. If I may say, our hometown grown premier of this province, a former premier who came to speak on this. And thank you, Mayor West and Councillor Davidson. This is a very important issue. And it's not only the right thing to do, it's actually required by law, and it's mentioned in here. Bill 163, respect in the workplace. So I'm glad that Richmond is taking a really firm stand, hopefully, as councillors speak for me, if we pass this unanimously. And I think that the delegate, Honorable Catherine, will know better how private members' bill would navigate in the legislature, but I think it does give, I hope, a strong dose of support when it goes through the legislative committee and the chamber. So I'm in full support of that. So seeing no other members want to give comment, Mr. Clerk, the call to vote has been called. The turn is yours.
Thank you. Through the chair, voting on the motion moved by Mayor West, seconded by Councillor Davidson. Councillor Silovitz.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Regional and Local Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Tree. Thank you. Councillor Hsu.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Davidson. Thank you. Mayor West.
Yes.
Thank you. Regional and Local Councillor DePaula.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Liu. Thank you. That motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Now, this item is completed. I pass on the chair back to Mayor West. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So we don't have much else to do here. We've got bylaws 16.1 to 16.7 that need to be adopted. Oh yeah, you're right. 16.8. Can I get a motion for all of those? Councillor Liu, Councillor Tree, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. And confirmatory bylaw 18.1 to confirm the proceed. Did I make another mistake? Oh, correct. You know, I've been testing you a lot today and you've been doing a really good job. So good work. All right, so we have a closed session item. I presume that everybody has read the closed session report. Is there any questions or comments that want to be made in closed session, or can we not go into closed session and adopt the coming out of closed session recommendation? Okay, if anybody, nobody needs to go into closed session?
I'll gladly move
Okay.
that if we do.
Okay. So I would suggest then, Mr. Clerk, do you want to read the item,
Thank
the
you.
recommendation coming out of closed session?
Well, so actually, through you, Mr. Mayor, I think the motion at this stage should be then that the confidential staff recommendation in confidential closed session report SRCS.23.02 be approved.
Okay, so that motion, Councillor Liu, Councillor Tree, all those in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now bylaws, right? All right. Right, the confirmatory bylaw 18.1. That's a really exciting one. Councillor Silovitz, Councillor Tree, all those in favor? Opposed, that carries. And last but not least, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Shu, all those in favor? That carries unanimously.